Hello and welcome to this video about Priva Alarms. In this video we would like to talk about the generic interface and which parts do we have in the interface and explain a bit how they work. So let's get started. This is the first interface. In this interface we call that the monitor. You can see this here in the top of the screen. In the monitor we can see which actual alarms do we have at this moment in time. Now we can see these have various colors. That means that some are severe alarms and others are not. We can see the details of the alarms just by clicking on them. So let's do that for now and see what kind of an alarm this is. We get some extra information about where the alarm exists, in which system exists and when it happened. I will go back. The other thing I can see that this alarm has an in time. So that means that it has occurred, but it is still valid because it doesn't have an out time. So this is important. That means that by looking at this interface, all the ones without an out date and time are still actual alarms. The other thing you can do in this interface here is if you check the various alarms that have been met in the system, so you should have been found in the system, you can acknowledge those alarms. So let's have a look at that. Here on the top we have this one. This is unchecked, and you can see these are actually checked. So that means that someone has looked at those alarms and said, I will check the alarm like that, and said it should be acknowledged. So if I do that, it will go acknowledged. I can do the entire page by checking this one. Now in this case I only have one alarm that I can check, but you can imagine if you have several alarms, you can in one go acknowledge all these alarms. Now I'm going to leave it for now because I would like to explain something else. We have here hide inactive alarms and hide acknowledge alarms, some extra filtering. And this will help you finding out what is going on now. So if I say hide the inactive alarms, the alarms that have already disappeared again are being taken away or taken out of this screen. Now in this case I have still 14 alarms to show. I had more alarms in the previous version. The second filter I can switch on is if there are alarms that are already acknowledged, so that means that these alarms have been seen by people, I can check this one. So in this case, of course, there is only one alarm that has not been acknowledged by anyone, and it shows that here in this interface. So these are really nice, actually simple, but really nice features that can help you finding out where your attention is needed, because if an alarm is already gone, then maybe it doesn't need attention, but if it's still there and you haven't acknowledged it, it's really important to make sure that you acknowledge it and also take action. So I can also take those away again and get the full story. Let's do that here. Another feature of this screen is the fact that if I scroll down, in this case I go to the bottom of the screen, then we will have this bar here. And it says, warning, since you're making changes on the page at this moment, auto-refreshing is disabled. What does that mean? Normally this is a web browser, so that means that any time that a new alarm occurs, the page is being refreshed. Now when a page, that's the technology of a web browser, is being refreshed, that means it's being built again. And when you scroll down to a page, while it's being refreshed, you will be put back up again. So that means if you would like to look at the lower ones, you can't, because constantly it will go back up. So that's annoying. So what we do is we will switch that off temporarily while you are looking at, let's say, the bottom of the page. Now if you want to go back to auto refresh, that means that if there is a new alarm, it will get that alarm for you. Just click this button here on the top right, says enable auto refresh again. And when you do that, it will go in the same mode and show you the alarms as they occur. So again, this is sort of the generic overview of the alarms, the monitor, where we can see the alarms that are currently active, and the acknowledgement world. The other screen is called historic alarms, and that's this one. Actually, all alarms that have an in and an out time are being reported here. And what we also can see is who was the one. Here's a person, it's called demo board, but you can understand that normally you can see a name here, and that means that the person that acknowledged this alarm is being shown here, so you know who had a look at this alarm. So again, these are the most important screens when it comes to day-to-day use of Priva Alarms. But there's more, of course. For instance, how do I know and how can I put people inside of the system? That's also easy. That's called access control. That's this button here. So you saw me press this button here, and then you get some other things you can do. In this case, go to access control, and then you will see a list of people that have access rights to these sites and these alarms in the system. So these are the people that have login credentials to go into the system. And that also means that they have, if you have checked that, for instance, if you have the right to acknowledge an alarm, so if this one is checked, that person can also check an alarm. If this one is not checked, then that person cannot check and acknowledge alarms. You can also remove users, block a user, or add a new user. So that means that this is a really nice place for you to do access rights or user management, maybe that's a different word for the same thing, by adding users, making sure that everyone in your organization that needs to have access right actually has access rights. So going back to the alarm service. So again, this is the overview. One of the other things we would like to talk about, not in detail now, but that is the app. So there is an app to go on your smartphone, that's a native app, which we have in the app stores, the various app stores, like the App Store for iOS, Android, and for Windows. You can install those on your telephone, and you can use those to see the alarms, but also to acknowledge the alarms. So that means that acknowledgement is not only something you can do in the interface we just talked about, but you can also do that in an app and have the entire alarm system actually in your pocket. Really nice. Now we're going to talk about the app in a later video, but for now I think it's very nice to know that we have this app, and so go find it on the App Store. You can have a look at the app already. There's another one I would like to show you that's called scheduling, open alarm scheduling, but that's something that we would like to show in another video. So for now, thank you for watching.